Hello, BookTube. We have another thriller in Manila on our hands as far as the mail goes. Today, no cardboard, no white board packages, no boxes, just a stack of vanilla envelopes. just Manila, as far as the eye can see. But I figured it's still worth the time to do, have our little mail visit. So let's see if, despite the drab packaging, any of these are stratospheric hits. Stratospheric hits are always good. Okay, all right. Well, okay. First one straight out of the gate is a stratospheric hit. I'm glad I mentioned it. Okay, this comes out in late October, and it is called Domina: The Women Who Made Imperial Rome by Guy de la Baudière. And why do I know that author? He did something else. Okay, this says that he's the author of a book called Praetorian, which I know that I read, but I could swear he did something else. I wonder if the pub sheet will tell me more. Will it tell me Real Lives of Roman Britain, Praetorian? No. Okay, well, it might have been Praetorian that I was thinking of, but one way or another, what have we got here? So it's a familiar thing. People have been writing books on the women of Imperial Rome for a long time. I have probably 6 of them here at Hyde Cottage, but it's a mine that yields constantly. So you get new books like this. Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. These are the names that history associates with the early Roman Empire. Yet not a single one of these emperors was the blood son of his predecessor. In this book, eminent scholar Guy de la Baudière shines a light on the Julio-Claudian women whose bloodline, ambition, and ruthlessness make it possible for the emperor's line to continue. Drawing on accounts of ancient Roman historians, the author asserts that the women behind the series, including Livia, Octavia, and the elder and younger Agrippina, were the true backbone of the dynasty. And we saw this just the other day. Well, it wasn't just the other day. I make a lot of videos. But it wasn't that long ago that I showed you a book from 110 years ago about the Julio-Claudian family and specifically the women in it. This is the same kind of book. We'll just have to see what this author brings to it. That's all. So this comes out in late October. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see what the author brings to it. I'm hoping with a book like this, you really have to bring first and foremost a healthy skepticism about your primary sources, or else what good does it do to have, any kind of discretion about your other sources? If you don't pay attention to why Suetonius is writing something about so-and-so, or Tacitus is, the motive is everything in understanding whether or not to believe those accounts and what parts of them to believe. So I'm hoping that historiography is a big part of this history. That would be really nice. Otherwise, I'm going to be reduced, as I often am when reading books like this, to just turning the pages and saying, "Oh well, Livy duped you there." Yeah, well. Oh my. Okay. Well, this is another one from Yale University. This is also due in the fall. This is due in early November, and we don't even leave the classical world. This is Tony Spofford's The Story of Greece and Rome. A tiny little thing. The extraordinary story of the intermingled civilizations of ancient Greece and Rome, spanning more than 6 millennia. Okay, so this is again another extremely well-told story, and we'll just see what kind of a job the author does. Wow, that's great. So there's going to be classical history in the fall. And this, I'm just checking here, Domina comes out on October 30th. Or it was the release date of October 30th, and this thing comes out on November 6th. So every book reviewer, every book section editor in the world is going to look at these two things and think, well, what about a combined review? How about I take the two of them, send them to my classical history guy, and have him do them together? That is the first thought that occurred to my mind. They're so close, they're a week apart, so that it's a natural pairing. I never know what to think of that. It's kind of unfair to each author, but it's the way that book editors think. They think, well, I've got a very limited amount of space. I got to maximize it with the number of books, the amount of coverage, the ambit of my arm, that sort of thing. I remember that well from when I had that job. That is the way you think. Okay. All right, let's see. This next one is unknown to me. What do we got here? This is Sweet Little Lies by Kaz Frere. The launch of a series by a new crime fiction writer is catnip to mystery and thriller fans all over the world. And these dedicated readers of Tana French, Jane Harper, Kristen Hanna, among others, will be thrilled to be introduced to a British literary star, Kaz Frere, when we launch her crackling good debut novel, Sweet Little Lies, here in the States. So this is a debut. Kat Kinsella, the protagonist of Kaz Frere's Sweet Little Lies, is a protagonist that readers will want to root for, a completely flawed heroine with gritty, funny, empathic voice. A young detective constable in the London Police Department, Kat discovers that the murder case she is working on in Islington may be linked to the disappearance of a 17-year-old girl from her childhood. Though Kat's dissolute father has always denied knowing anything about the girl, Kat has always wondered, and she knows there are dark and ugly secrets in his past that have kept their relationship at arm's length for years. Okay, all right. So when does this come out? This must be soon. Yeah, mid-August. Okay, a police story and a debut. The only warning though is that deeply flawed. I'm hoping that it's deeply flawed in the real world sense instead of deeply flawed in the girl on a train sense, where it's not just you're not just deeply flawed. You're a pathological social aberration. Where someone who sets herself on fire because she's so drunk making potatoes at the stove that she almost dies regularly is an extreme abnormality. Nobody knows anything like that. People like that go to institutions and don't come back out again. Same thing when you tend to read police procedurals in which your main character is called intensely flawed. They tend to be exhibiting easily visible behavior amongst their colleagues and in front of their superiors that in the real world would get them immediately fired. And it doesn't happen usually. But maybe this is this deeply flawed refers more to family demons. It sounds like the main character has family demons. That's always juicy reading. Wow, okay. A debut police procedural and something that's coming right up, so I can read it right away. Oh goodness gracious. Okay. Look at the size. What am I getting? I'm getting all these biographies of people when all I want is information about the book. Okay, so this comes out in September. And this is yet another biography of Dr. Benjamin Rush, an unknown founding father. This is the subtitle of this one is The Founding Father Who Healed a Wounded Nation. A little bit of hyperbole there from the folks at Da Capo Press. He was the only doctor to sign the Declaration of Independence. Medical doctor, that's supposed to read. Yes, medical doctor. He was the only medical doctor to sign the Declaration of Independence. He went on to become America's first great humanitarian and social reformer. He was Dr. Benjamin Rush. And as an acclaimed historian, Harlow Giles Unger, this guy has 1 million books to his credit, points out in this new book, the things he did to improve the lives of everyday people impact us to this day. Impact is not a verb. Dr. Rush began his career as a volunteer civilian medic during the Revolutionary War, racing into battlefields at Trenton and Brandywine to treat injured soldiers at a time when armies routinely left their wounded to die. Okay. Medic is an anachronism in this case, and armies didn't routinely leave their wounded to die. His wartime experiences led him to demand sweeping changes in the treatment of troops and the founding of the Army Medical Corps. But as the author reveals, Dr. Rush was a man of many causes, many of them a century ahead of their time. Frustrated by the inaction of political leaders, he helped found the Philadelphia Dispensary of the Poor, then became a powerful voice in the struggle for abolition, women's rights, universal public education, and prison reform. He fought to ban child labor and established hygiene standards for hospitals. He also pioneered the treatment of mental illness as a disease. Okay, well, this is a third the size of the other Dr. Benjamin Rush book that's out in the fall. They're both out about the same time. Again, it's going to be another example where, I don't have a copy of that Rush here, but it's going to be another example where every book editor in the country is going to see these two books together and think, Well, there are 2 books on Dr. Benjamin Rush. Why not review them both together? Why not get somebody, Gordon Wood or whoever, to do a long piece about Benjamin Rush that mentions both books? That way I get more bang for my buck. Every book section editor is going to think that. We'll just see if it happens. Okay, well, I want a doctor to sign the Declaration of Independence. All right. Great. Okay. So, founding father history, Revolutionary War history. I'm sorry. That little detail is bothering me. And those of you who know your American Revolutionary history, can you come up with 2 other names? It's like, maybe the pub sheet writer obviously got a detail like that from the author, and he obviously meant medical doctor, and that might make it okay. I don't know. Let's just move on. We've got a couple more packages to go here. What is this? Much thicker, whatever it is. Oh, okay. Okay. Great. All right. This is an artist biography. I would ordinarily look askance at such a thing, but 2018 has been the year of unconventional biographies for me. Biographies that aren't part of what I usually read. I read everything. I read all biographies, but they're not my mainstream wheelhouse for biographies. Biographies of Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali or a whole host of strange figures, people that I don't ordinarily. Tiger Woods. One of the best biographies I've read so far this year was a biography of Tiger Woods, of all people. And this is the same thing. This is artist biographies, especially contemporary artists. I would never do that. This is by Joshua Rifkin, and it is Chalk. The Art and Erasure of Cy Twombly. And the book is the result of over 10 years of research, a fusing of biography and memoir, art appreciation and criticism. With first-person accounts of some of Twombly's closest friends and relatives, Rifkin lifts up the prescribed history of the 20th century artist to the sun and out of the shadows, revealing beguiling holes in the artist's life story. Okay, I know very little about this artist. This thing comes out in mid-October. I know very little about the subject, but all of my assurances. You see, this is the kind of biography that's in my wheelhouse, and this is not. And yet, if 2018 has taught me anything, it's taught me that this is probably going to please me more. That it's been a revelatory year for biography. I don't expect that to stop anytime soon. And then we have, although this is the last package I meant to say. In the fall, we'll get more conventional stuff. We'll get stuff that's far more in my normal orbit. We'll get an 800-page biography of Thomas Cromwell. We'll get a 1,000-page biography of Ronald Reagan. Stuff like that. We'll get stuff like that. So it won't be all new territory for me. Let me see. Let's see what this last one is. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay. This is a great novel. It's a great Boston novel. And it's in the Norton Critical editions now. A new Norton Critical edition. How wonderful. Oh my. This is The Rise of Silas Lapham. That's just fantastic. I was thrown a little. It's The Rise of Silas Lapham by somebody named W.D. Howells. What on earth? People have called William Dean Howells for 150 years. He's now W.D. Howells? What, is that an attempt at rebranding? Because the 19th century vogue of 3 names is... How strange. I've never seen him referred to that way. Wow, okay, and there's a Child Hassan Boston painting on the cover. Great. W.D. Howells. Okay. So this has everything. And what I mentioned before, those of you who might not know, the Norton Critical editions, you get the text of whatever they're reprinting. And then the back third of the book, you get supporting materials, original reviews that appeared at the time, if there were any, historical background, if there is any, letters, journal entries pertaining to the book, and then later critical essays, sometimes spanning a whole century, or in the case of the classics, centuries. And it's an amazing. The editors in the series pull so much together that you can use. Now, an approach like that is obviously meant for students, but I have often found that these are a miracle to read on their own. The text of the classic itself is well footnoted, but then you get tons of stuff to read about it. If you're a lot, like me, if you finish reading a classic, whether it's for the first time or the 50th time, oftentimes one of the first things you want to do when you finish is read about it. Maybe not go back and read it again, but read what people have to say about it and what they have had to say over time. And you can satisfy that itch perfectly with the Norton Critical Editions. That's fantastic. The Rise of Silas Lapham by W.D. Howells. And the note from Norton has a line that I'm going to let go. I'm going to send the writer of this line a ribbing note, but I am not going to hold a grudge. The part of what she writes is, I hope that you enjoy this local read again, or perhaps for the first time. This is not the first time that I've read The Rise of Silas Lapham. It's not the first time, not the 50th time. But I probably will read it again. This is a perfect example of what I mentioned in another video just today, which is that things come along and all of a sudden want to elbow their way onto your weekend reading, and I'm not predisposed to resist that. So I will probably read this weekend. Well, there we go. All right, so we have Chalk, a biography. We have Dr. Benjamin Rush, another biography. We have Sweet Little Lies, a debut police thriller. We have Domina, a new book about the women of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. We have The History of Greece and Rome, a suspiciously thin book about 10 centuries of ancient Greece and Rome. And we have, saving the best for last, The Rise of Silas Lapham in a Norton Critical Edition. How wonderful. So that is our Manila mail haul for today. Not a bad mail haul at all. So I will end this here, but I'll be back soon. Thank you, BookTube.